Oi, oi. Good morning, everyone. Yes, this is actually happening. I am completely, fully awake, refreshed, and ready to do a morning show. So, whether you're on your morning commute, maybe you're already there, or just a bit of an early riser, I have got you covered. I am Aaron Talks Arsenal, of course, and this is my new morning show. Yeah, listen, hope everyone's got their day off to a fantastic start. I know I have mine. I was up at about 6:15 in the morning, having a little bit of a prep. So we'll see how it goes, shall we? Surely my day and your day can't get any worse than this. So, let's get it right. We're off to a flyer already. Just a few people in the chat. I want to have a quick big up. If anyone's got any questions to write, I will get towards that later. But we've got a new member as well, Gunnery. I think that was from last night. But big up to you, mate. We've got Shane in the building saying smash the likes up, man. Lawrence, my man, how are we doing? And Robbo in the building. Thank you very much for the early morning view. So what I want to talk about more than anything this morning is our loose links rather, to Rodrigo, and it got me sort of thinking. Well, obviously, I wouldn't play him at right back because you'll get that little cry, wouldn't you, from the Arsenal fans? You'll get that. Well, what about Bukayo Saka? But he's of course a left-sided winger, naturally. And we're going to go into a couple of little stats. Let's have a little chat about him because it's a position I think we absolutely, as Arsenal fans, need to look at. Where's a little stat here? This ain't usually my type of thing, but we're going to have a little look because it might be a couple's. And this is Gabriel Martinelli, of course, our first choice left winger against Rodrigo. Now, this is this year's stats. I don't know why it's got their age in there as a metric. I haven't got a clue about that. But we've got progressive carries. Rodrigo's absolutely taking him there. Dribbles. I'm quite surprised to actually see Martinelli slightly ahead. Non-penalty goals. Yep, Martinelli's just slightly there, but neither of them really take penalties, do they? Let's sort of get that right. And then this is where I don't have anything to do with this. Usually expected goals and expected assists. They'll just do their thing on the pitch, regardless of whether they're good enough a player. I've never really been into sort of the XG and all that type of thing. But assist-wise, they're absolutely the same. And don't worry, we will be deeping into the stats a little bit in a little bit. They've got assists, yeah, absolutely same. Like I said, key passes. Now, this is where actually Martinelli, he does significantly do a little bit better than Rodrigo, to be fair. And with 81% in Martinelli's favour, and then Rodrigo's got 37.2, of course, Real Madrid. And then we've got minutes played. They've pretty much made the same sort of minutes. So it'd be an interesting read when we get the other one. Is this a call-in show? No, because I'll only be doing this show, by the way, for about half an hour because I will be taking my kids to school. I will be doing the morning commute for them, or the morning school drop-off, rather. Aaron turning into a stat merchant. No. We're just deep in it just for this, Robbo, just for this, mate. But yeah, this got me thinking anyway, this metric. It largely looks, to be fair, in Martinelli's favour. And this is why, ladies and gentlemen, people in the chat, 13 of you in the building, I thought it was just going to be me. So I'm absolutely buzzing with that. This is why I don't really like all this XG and things like that. Because if we take this off now and we'll bring to the stage now, we'll compare the actual stats that I believe personally matter. Let's have a little go here, ladies and gentlemen. 1 second. Hey, here we go. For some reason, I'm back on the screen there. And here we go. Now, this, of course, is Martinelli. Let's have a little look down. So, his goals 7 and 4 assists in 30 Premier League games this season. In the Champions League, he's played 12, he scored 2, and he's also assisted 2. In the EFL Cup, hasn't really done that much. And in the FA Cup, obviously leading him to a total of 47 games with 9 goals, 6 assists, and obviously yellow cards. We're not going to count. Who cares about them? Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of underwhelming, and I think when we start looking at Martinelli, and then specifically, which is why I'm doing this more than the Rodrigo links, we need a new left winger, and these numbers just ain't really that good. I won't deep into the last 2 seasons because unfortunately it only gets a little bit worse for Martinelli, and we're not going to start being heavily critical in the first morning show. We'll save that for a couple, shall we? But you see, as a left winger, of course, he's played 38, and this makes for slightly better reading, I guess, because he's not a right winger, ladies and gentlemen. As a left winger, he's played 38, scored 8, and assisted 5. It's kind of not really what we sort of expect for a team challenging for the top like Arsenal are. Now, obviously we know Bukayo Saka on the other side, he's been absolutely fantastic. It's a shame he got that injury because the numbers he was putting up before were phenomenal. But if Arsenal, unlike I hope in the summer, if we get a striker, we're going to be relying on both wingers to put, in some significant numbers, almost reminiscent of the Liverpool side. The Firmino, the Salah on the right, and the Mane on the left hand side. Firmino done his job, even got a few numbers, Bobby Firmino, but Salah's and the Manes, they were putting in 20 goals and probably at least double figures in assists each. So when you're sort of looking at these stats from Martinelli, you know that he's sort of some way shy, really, of achieving that. Let's have a little look to see how Rodrigo compares them with that. We're going to get him up in just 2 seconds. We will share the screen and we'll have a little look at Rodrigo here. So it's actually not that much better. And I was quite surprised when I first initially went on this. So we can see Rodrigo, similar age, and they played similar minutes as well. Martinelli only 47, Rodrigo the 50. Now you can see in the Liga he's played 30, scored 6 and assisted 6. In the Champions League, 12, 5 goals, 5 goals, 2 assists. Copa del Rey, 2 assists, the Super Copa. And I think there's the difference here in these competitions. And I know he obviously hasn't scored or assisted in this, but we got to remember he is a winner. Now, of course, he plays for Real Madrid. That does kind of help. But he's done this not just this season, the Copa del Rey and the UEFA Super Cup, but the Champions League last year. He's won numerous stuff. So to be fair on Rodrigo's side, you would be bringing in a winner. But these aren't really the numbers that I expected to see when I first initially clicked on with it. I'm not going to lie. I don't really follow La Liga that much, and I think it's probably evident. I'm not shy of admitting that. But I was expecting a little bit more than 50 appearances, 13 goals, and 10 assists. I think in the league, which is what we're going to be really aiming for, which is really the barometer of 38 games, is where you can really determine whether a team's got it or not. Anyone can win the Champions League. We've seen a lot of teams that aren't favourites win it down the years, although Real Madrid have won it fairly few times. But yeah, I'm kind of sort of thinking that should have a 1 behind the 6. Maybe with a couple more games, he's only played 30, but you know what I'm saying. He needs about 15 goals and 10 assists really to warrant the sort of money we'll get into. But if you actually see on this right hand side, Real Madrid, is this a reason why he hasn't got great numbers? Because he's being predominantly played as a right winger. Now we know obviously they've got Vinicius Junior on the left. They've also got Mbappe coming in this season, and you see a lot of reports saying it's destabilised him a little bit. Is he playing out of position a little bit to accommodate two obviously world class players? You look at this makes for slightly better reading. So on 29 as a right winger, he's got 7 goals and 4 assists. But as a left winger, it's actually 1 in 1 if you consider goals and assists as the same thing, or goal contributions, shall we say. You got the left winger there, 12, 6 goals, 6 assists. And I think this here, right here, this is what I think Arsenal Football Club need to be looking at if we are certain to be trying to sign this player. Now, look, he's loosely linked, absolutely loosely linked, and I'm not going to come on here and say I know anything because I'm really not that type of guy. I just want a more deep dive, the stats and the position, because we really do need strengthening in that area, and we'll get into that again in a little bit. But this year, it was quite interesting to me, and Mikel Arteta do not play him at centre forward. Not just for his stats. We don't want a player like Rodrigo up forward. Go get a Chocorez. But that's for another show, of course. And let's have a little look as well, because it isn't just Martinelli and Trossard that play there. Of course, it's Leandro Trossard. And let's have a little look into Leandro Trossard now. Let's share our screen for Trossard. How's he got on in comparison to Martinelli, who starts, Rodrigo, who we're interested in, and of course his other competition? And it's fairly sort of the same, really. When you actually sort of look at it, let's get it up. Here we go. We've got Trossard's up here. So in the Premier League, 35 appearances, and he's got 8 goals, 6 assists. I mean, it's fairly sort of the same. He's almost like an in-between of Martinelli and Rodrigo, isn't he? You've got Champions League, 13 appearances in there, so he's probably played in pretty much every game. 2 goals, 2 assists. None in the EFL Cup and none in the FA Cup. There's no real surprise there because even though we got the semi-final of one of them, we wasn't particularly great. But this is what I'm saying, and this is why I wanted to say this to everyone. 52 appearances, Trossard, this season. So he's played a good chunk, some of it off the bench, you will argue, absolutely. But only 10 goals and 8 assists. You say only, but when you're trying to be that top level team, you kind of need more than these numbers. I'm sorry, even as a sub or a rotational player, that needs to have another five on it, and that needs to have at least another three or four. You need to be at least getting double figures in both of them, and our players just aren't seeming to do that now. Obviously, as we can see, he's been played as a left winger a lot of the time. Striker, please come on, by centre forward, please by centre forward. Another second striker, centre forward. They're just not good enough. Left winger, he's played 31 times, scored five and assisted five. I mean, it's okay, isn't it? I mean, if in them sort of stats alone, you'd sort of expect maybe a youngster or someone like that to be coming on and making this, but not as predominantly one of your sort of starting or in your competition to start on that left hand side. As you can sort of see, it's not really been good enough in this position. We've got 5 goals, and Rodrigo's only putting 6 goals in the league. Martinelli's got, I think, was it 7 or 8 goals in the league? I mean, it's just not really good enough to where Arsenal sort of want to be. But I'm quite intrigued with this. Where would you guys play Rodrigo? Would you bring him in the chat? Put in your comments. I'm quite interested to see, because we will get to the chat very, very, very soon. But do you know what balks me a little bit from this transfer, Rodrigo? Maybe he would be good. It's nice to shake things up, but they put 100 million euro, rather, not pound, price tag on it. And that's a lot of dough. It just is. That's a lot of money, and I don't think he's worth that. I think, for me personally, if you was to try and get a player of that sort of ilk in from Real Madrid, was young, Brazilian, um, I'd be saying he's not worth no more than 70 million. I'm quite interested to see in the chat. Post in the comments if you disagree with me. I can't see us paying. He's not worth more than 70. Not with them numbers. And some of that 70 as well. Let's get it right. You'll be paying the premium on. You're paying for, can he come to the Premier League and be a success? Because he's not a ready-made player, and the stats there don't suggest, that he's absolutely on fire. Now you look at Vinicius Junior's stats, of course, and they are, significantly better. And there will always be that argument as if he's playing out of position at Real Madrid, la-di-da-di-da. But yeah, I personally don't think he's worth more than 70 million. But look, one thing I will say is, if you sort of said to me when that transfer window opens in June, um, would you be happy, come sort of July, that you release Gyökeres's clause and then you get Rodrigo in the door? So you've got your left winger in Rodrigo, you've got your striker in Gyökeres, and you've got Saka, of course, on the right. If you said for 150 million, you'll get that in and you'll reinvigorate that forward line. Listen, I'm not arguing with it. I'm quite cool with that. We need striking options, like I said. And if you said 150 for them too, and it got done, release Gyökeres 1st of June. Just get that done. Let's get it right. Just release that clause, get that done, and give you a nice amount of time to be bringing in that forward line, because we might not need total heart surgery at that forward line, but it does need shaking up. And that will probably come at the expense of Trossard, I'd have thought. Now, look, if we are strapped for cash, I wouldn't mind looking sort of into the possible sale of Martinelli. I really would. However, I actually would prefer to sell Trossard, purely because maybe Martinelli might pick up his form next year. Maybe even a new manager, who knows, down the line of his Arsenal career, might even get better out of Martinelli. So I would actually go for more into the future with Martinelli and Rodrigo competing on that left-hand side. For me, that would just be a little bit better, and sell Trossard. We all sort of know he's blown hot and cold this season. I don't think he's been treated phenomenally well at Arsenal, if I'm being totally honest. But there's links of Saudis and things like that. He's getting to the twilight of his career. I think, if someone's coming in for knocking around the 20 million sort of fee for him, and then you're putting that towards a 70, max 80, but probably 70 million Rodrigo, you're starting to reinvigorate that forward line. And with a few sales we've got to do, I won't get in too much to it, because this isn't a transfer show, and we will obviously be doing one of them down the line. Yeah, I just sort of think it makes for a sort of smart move. But would you guys in the chat, in the comments afterwards, what would you do with Rodrigo? Would you sign him? Would you want him on that left-hand side? Are you more of a Nico Williams fan? Would you more of maybe get Semenyo and move him out on the left? I'm quite intrigued, because there aren't actually a plethora of wingers. Maybe Lookman. Would you think he's a bit of Arsenal? See, I don't know about me. It's going to be a gamble sort of for anyone, isn't it? The only thing I say, and we'll mention Rodrigo again one more time, is at least you've seen him turn up in big games. Now, over the last few years, He's scored in numerous finals for Real Madrid. And that's sort of what you want. Maybe that's sort of saying that he's a big game player. Now I know it's a different league, different competitions. How will he fare in there? But every transfer is a risk. It's just as simple as that. Um, and I don't know. I'd probably be quite happy with seeing him through the door. What do you all reckon? And as well, we know for an absolute fact that Mikel Arteta is looking at that position. Now, why do you think I say that? I'll tell you why I say that is because if you actually cast your mind back to 2.5 years ago, when Martinelli was actually in the form of his life, or certainly the form of his Arsenal career, um, we actually tried signing Mudryk, if you remember. Nicely swerved that bullet, by the way. Um, we tried signing Mudryk for 90 million, and that was in the winter window of that. That was halfway through that positive year, when we sort of let that Premier League slip from Manchester City, 8 points ahead. Yeah, that scar still is very, very prominent in me old heart. Let's get that right. But yeah, Mikel Arteta knows, and he's been looking at that side, and the proof is in that pudding. He's obviously ended up signing Trossard that summer. And I think, like I said, he will probably be out the door. But we know Mikel Arteta absolutely 100% is looking at that position because in that season, I think where he did get double figures, Martinelli, I'm fairly certain he got something like 15 goals, maybe 10 or 12 assists, which was a good season. Fair enough, he's young. That was his real breakthrough at Arsenal, especially under Mikel Arteta. And still, Mikel Arteta wanted to try and sign someone else. So it's quite interesting to see. But let's come to chat, and I want to see how everyone's doing. And as I said earlier, Bunari, big up to you, man. We have a new member in the building. Big up to you, man. And Shane, big up to Shane, my brother. He's doing the show at 10:30, so make sure you do not miss that. It's a bit of World Cup themed, so Mr. 10:30 now will get you covered, mate. Lawrence, big up to you, my friend. Evening, Shane, and of course, evening for Lawrence is because the lucky so and so's living it up in Los Angeles. That's why. So, big up to Lawrence, man, and thank you very much. Last night as well, Lawrence, I'll give you that. This gentleman here, last night's show was absolutely fantastic, and this young man sent me a good little bit of content that I was able to use. It was great, and do you know what? I didn't finish up till about 1 o'clock. I'm not going to lie, and this is my first morning show. Hopefully, of many, ladies and gentlemen. So smash that like up. Um, it's one of them things when you've got to do something in the morning. I sort of got off the internet with DJB, I think about 1 o'clock, and I was like, all right, I better go to bed now. And of course, when you've got to get up early to prep and do a few bits, of course, you have one of them nights where you just lay in the bed and look up the ceiling, and it started to get the two turn into 2:30, then nearly 3 o'clock, and finally I went to bed. But hopefully the redness in my eyes isn't too much of a monstrosity for 24 of you in the building to deal with. Morning, Lawrence. Yeah, big up Shane. Aaron is a calling show. No, yeah. All right, done a couple of these. Mr. Jezza, good morning. Good morning to you all. And like I said, hopefully you've started your morning very, very, very well. Unlike this again. Yeah, what was that all about, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah, big up to you, man. We got Robbo in the building. As long as Arsenal don't do something foolish like Rodrygo's swap deal for Saliba, I'm so glad you messaged this. I want Rodrigo at the carpet for next season. Yeah, that's fantastic. And to be fair, you're absolutely right, Robbo. Um, I don't want it at the expense of any player. I really, really, really don't. If Arsenal were going to be building something special, i.e., to do this at the end of the season, like what these guys saw, Patrick Vieira and Dennis Bergkamp. If we're going to have some sustained success, we need to be keeping these big players, as you say, at the carpet next season. I don't want to entertain anything because you get a Rodrigo in, you're one step forward and probably 5 steps back because let's get it right. I mean, I know Gabriel Magalhaes has been fantastic for Arsenal. He just absolutely has. And he's overshadowed Bill Saliba a little bit, if I'm being totally honest, maybe in the last 12, 16 months, 18 months. But Bill Saliba, for his age, there's no one better. There just isn't. And we can't be trying to fix the attack to absolutely destroy the defense. So yeah, please, 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 we stay away from any deal like that, Robbo. Yeah, don't see Rodrigo stats. Of course, I didn't put them up, did I? I totally forgot. This is all sort of the morning thing, we're working it all out. So apologies for me. I put everyone's up but Rodrigo's, of course. But at least I read them out so you could hear them. Joseph, big up to you, my brother. We've got an OG in the building, man. Always, Joseph, man. Big up, geese. And we got Dre as well. Good morning, man. Nice to see so many of you this morning. Honestly, I promise you, there's 26 in the building. I thought, hand on heart, I thought I was going to be talking to myself, which is cool. it's a time that no one expects me to stream, and everyone's got their own thing going in there. But we got 30 in the building now, and I'll tell you what, I am absolutely blown away, man. And Dre, big up my brother, big up my man. He's saying our manager is not good. Too early for that, Dre. I cannot read that out. Politeness. He's even bottling second place. Yeah, yeah. The league table, it's just not looking fantastic, is it? I actually got it up on my stream last night to have a little look into it, and barring a Chelsea resurgence in the last three games, and us literally losing all three, which by the way, two could be really feasibly possible. I think our top five status may just be secure, but I tell you what, it's a lot closer than I thought it was going to be a month or two ago. Let's get that right. I think there's only 4 or 5 points that are separating, that fifth place, but sixth. That's where it is. I'll tell you what, if the Champions League didn't get that fifth place, yeah, I wouldn't be a little bit worried, but yeah, I'd be a little bit concerned, and I'd be a little bit concerned purely on the basis of us falling out of that. We've got Liverpool coming up next, and we've got to give them the guard of honour. That's a little bit of a gutter, isn't it? We've got Liverpool coming up next. That could easily lose. I know they've won the league. They're probably in a different mind frame. They'll still be up for it. They'll not want to lose that game. And then, of course, Newcastle at home, who we haven't beaten 3 attempts. Of course, they humbled us twice in the Carabao Cup semi-final and away 1-0 with an Isak header. So we'll definitely try to avoid that at all costs. And we've got Joanne in the building. I hope you are well this morning, my dear. Thank you very much for rocking up. KLS is in the building as well. Good morning, all. Big up, Aaron, for the morning content. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 4 hours sleep. We're getting there. It might not be the best this morning. It's the first one. Yeah, and I'm a little bit tired, but yeah, nice 45 minutes before anyone else turns up for work. Yeah. Well, do you know the reason why I wanted to do this is because it's that morning commute. Like I always thought, for me, I always listen to Talk Sport or someone else in my drive to work. As a massive football fan, so I just thought, you know what? Why don't we just put a couple of little bits out if anyone's tuning in? And 30 of you are, and it's absolutely unbelievable. Nathan, my man, how are you doing, my friend? Thank you very much for turning up. I'm very good, and I hope you are well. And I hope you've started your day very well, my friend. Trossard is too inconsistent, and that is a great point, and the point that I'm making as well. He is a bit too inconsistent for my liking. Does Rodrygo play regularly for Real Madrid regarding the stats? Oh, yeah, I forgot to bring him up, sir. But he played 30 times in the league this season. So, I mean, you'd presume regularly, wouldn't you? I think they're on match day 35 as well. So it's to be safe to say that he's playing the vast majority of their games, and he is starting them as well. Yeah, he's not worth 100 million, and that's in euros that they're asking. So that's probably like 85, 90 million sterling, but he's not worth that either. If you can get him down to around the 70s, I can't foresee him selling for any less than that. Um, but yeah, he's not worth that. Dazza smoked you. Good morning, mate. Good morning, Giza. I know. Big up the early morning glocking crew. Yeah, big up to every single one of you. Hopefully your day started off as good as it can be. Mine has, to be fair. I'll give it that. I will have to do the school run, so I've got about another 12 minutes to fly through some of the comments. My missus does, to let you know, give you a little bit of context, because I know everyone loves context. My missus does 4 on 4 off, so she's just finished her night shift now, so she's coming at 7. So on them 4 days, I'm going to go and do the school run, and then when she's off work, every now and then she's going to drop the kids off to her school, so I'll be able to do a little bit longer. So yeah, Trossard has a year left on his deal, and I'll be considering selling. Absolutely, mate, 100%. He's definitely that player of the two that can go. And Nathan said as well, oh, we dodged the bullet like Neo, mate. Like Neo. That's what we done, mate. We dodged that bullet, mate. He has proved to be an absolute disaster of a signing at Chelsea, isn't he? Is the wrong club that he'd gone to. Martin needs to play down the middle. I actually sort of agree. He should have been given a chance down the middle, 100%. That's his strength. And if you remember, under the Unai Emery season, he was played down the middle there, and he scored a good few good goals as well. Not on the left wing as this clown of the manager thinks. Arteta fitting square pegs into round holes as usual. He does like to do that. Yeah, bit biting a bullet again. Buster, big up to you, my friend. What we say, I mean, hi Aaron. Hello to you as well, mate. I'm not a Williams fan. Me neither. From recently watching his graph, I think we would look better than Martinelli, but less goals and less assists. Yeah, facts. But now that you show Rodrigo, 30 million looks good compared to 100 million. Yeah, the stats aren't actually fantastic. And whilst you do actually make a good point on that in terms of stats and the value for him, obviously Williams has got his release clause, hasn't he? I just sort of think, with what he's done at Real Madrid, Rodrigo, he'd actually be a little bit of a better fit for Arsenal I just think Williams is more of a yeah, I just can't see him doing it in the Premier League. I've got nothing to base that on, to be fair. It's quite loose. You know, when you just get that bug for a player and you just think, yeah, I think when it gets to the nitty gritty in the Premier League, I don't think he's going to cope with it. But we've seen Rodrigo against numerous Champions League sides. He's done the business, and he's done the business in the final as well. Arteta knows, yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm going to be good with what I read out this morning. You know, first time and all that. Up and early, yeah. Big up, Will, man. Up the cheers. Nice and early, mate. Big up to you, brother. And a legend in the building as well. We got DJ B's rocked in for a little bit, man. How are you doing, kind sir? Fantastic show last night. And the end of it, my end of it, the show last night with DJ B was we were dressing up people in the new Arsenal merch. Sounds worse than it is. Go and check it out. Yeah, that was funny, man. Big up to DJ B. Yeah, it's just after midnight here in LA, and I'm tucked in bed with my teddy bear. Oh, yeah, don't worry, mate. Yeah, have a nice little sleep, and don't let them bed bugs bite, Lawrence. Yeah, don't let them bed bugs bite, mate. Yeah. We dressed up a bit of Lawrence and all. We'll be doing that. Did we do it last night? We're doing tomorrow. Either way, we'll be getting Lawrence some great attire for next week. So don't you forget to tune in. Morning, everyone. Yeah, big up, man. I trust you. I trust you. Process the sandwich. I love that name. I see you in the chat yesterday. Bear in mind, yesterday the chat there was about 120 people in there, so it's really hard to keep up sometimes with a few people talking, presenting a few bits on the screen. You know, it can be a little bit hard. So I'm never ignoring people. But big up to you, my friend. And you're saying, I hope that Calafiori news is real. Please, AC Milan, take it off of our hands. Absolutely. I'm going to be doing a few little bits about that maybe tomorrow morning. Um, yeah, he's Lee Gunner had it a lot on his show yesterday. He's been injured a lot of times, believe you me. It'll be something that I'll be introducing when I talk about things in more depth, when I've got a little bit more time, of course. And yeah, Nathan is absolutely right here. Get me to 1K subs. That's it. You know, we hit the, I think we're at 770, something like that. So make sure you are liking and make sure you're subscribing. It all makes a difference, man. Get that algorithm on my side, everyone. And yeah, big up Lawrence. Big up Luca. How are you doing, brother? All good? On that Saliba news makes me think we need to invest in the likes of Housen. Listen, I think what's his release clause? 50, 60 million. But the good thing is with that is you can pay it over 3 installments. Listen, I'll be all over that. And I'll tell you why, everyone, I'd be all over that. It's because 2 years ago, William Saliba got injured and it really derailed our Premier League title race. It really did. I mean, that was the catalyst for it. And we still haven't signed anyone at right back. So I would be all over this. And do you know what, as well, for a season, should the worst happen and Bill Saliba go to Real Madrid next year, we don't want that to happen. At least we've got someone in there who's had a year of playing with Arsenal, maybe a year of getting used to a bit of Magalhaes as well. So yeah, I'm all up for that, mate. I promise you, I am all over that transfer. I still believe that we have to sell one big player to sign someone big. Yeah, you could be right, and I think that probably should be the captain Odegaard. If I'm being honest, I strongly believe that in Martinelli. Arteta's eyes, Martinelli is the most expendable one. I think you probably are right out of the two. Yeah, 100%. He's not going to do that to his captain, even though I disagree. He should be probably selling Odegaard. I absolutely agree with your point, Robbo. Just a process sandwich. Mutants go on league position for progression. So if we finish second below, Arteta's failed by their own metrics and logic. Absolutely. Now, you know, it's quite easy to say 2 years ago we finished 5 points behind second. And then last season we only finished 2 points behind second. So I think it's absolutely fair to say if we finish second again, but 15 points behind them, of course, then that you'd have to flip it and you'd say regression. Yeah, and smash that like button before we do shoot. Smash that like button. Hello, mate. How you doing? DJ Gatty in the building. I'm seen you chat for a couple of days. How you doing, man? Big up to you and respect to you, my friend. I'm watching from Poland. Big up to this gentleman from Poland, man. SG's in the building. Hello, mate. Respect YouTubers with wife and kids. It ain't easy, man. Yeah, I can promise you that, my friend. I mean, look at these red eyes. Look at them. It looks like I've been drinking about 10 cans of Stella last night and I didn't touch a drop. I can promise you that. But big up to you, man. And we got Nick in the building. What a geezer, man. What an absolute geezer. Great Liverpool fan. Go check his content out, everyone. They went from Saka, his levels over Rodrigo. Exactly right, my friend. I know where you're going with this. They're trying to work out where it'd fit into the squad. Basically, yeah, mate. Yeah. 100%, man. That's funny. Yeah. I'd have him on that left-hand side. And we got another from a legend to another. Big up you, Jester, man. Big up, man. He's got some fantastic content and all. There's some really cool content creators in it. I'll start talking English in the morning. Bear in mind, it's the first one. Big ups to you, man. Go and follow him as well, man. Hey, that he is a player. However, some fans are dismissing him altogether. Yeah, during the Real Madrid tie. Yeah, exactly right. I'm not one of them. You know, I think it was a lot of bad performances there in the Real Madrid tie for Real Madrid, wasn't there? Let's just totally get that right. Yeah, I'd have him all day long. We're gonna take a couple, and then I do have to take the kids to school. But Buster is saying Martinelli cost us 7 mil. Exactly. And these are the signings we need to keep making, everyone. What happened to the 7 mil signings, like the Guendouzi's, and turning them in? All right, we sold him very badly. But, the Martinelli's, the 7 millions. What happened to them? I hope Berta brings some of that back. The little jewels, the little low risk, high reward signings. You're absolutely right, mate. Buster, you're 100% right. Um, what but Godfrey in the building? Big up to you, man. And then we got only Arsenal fans say it also. So who want to sit on the bench? Every other club fan, yeah, nice, more squad depth, mate. 150%. Please sell Saliba for the transfer window. You reckon he can go to Madrid? Oh, I'm quite surprised at this. Yeah, we should sack Arteta if he fails to win the Champions League. I agree with you there. Absolutely, I do. I think then it'll mean that he's had plenty enough time to win a trophy. And yeah, it's not good enough. I'm gutted too, mate. And I will be doing a PSG preview at 1 o'clock today, so make sure you tune in for that. We will go into that in a little bit more, and I'll take this last one from Mr. Robbo. Yeah, sad part is Martinelli has shown how good he can be attacking style. Absolutely, mate, 100%. If he would be coached by a proper attacking manager, I said that, yeah, exactly right earlier. Yeah, he would cook again. Unfortunately, Arteta wants to control his life. And I'll end on this point, and that's sort of what I'm saying, man. I think maybe a new manager could get the best out of Martinelli. That's why I'd sort of like to keep him and say if you did get a Rodrigo or whoever in, but let's just say Rodrigo because the show's about Rodrigo. I'd like to see them battling it out. Maybe it'd give Martinelli a little bit more of that sort of natural sort of instinct to battle, and maybe it brings something else out in him. I'm not really too sure, but what I will say is it's been absolutely fantastic. We had a peak of 30 odd in the building. We still got 26. I do have to leave now, but before I do, don't forget I do have a Champions League preview, and that is coming up at 1 o'clock later on today. I'm going to be a good daddy, and I'm going to take the kids to school. But listen, absolutely fantastic for everyone that's jumped in the building. I mean, it's first class, and you know what? It's got that such of a good reception. It makes me want to do more. I'd have still done more anyway, but it's nice to see that it's got off to an unbelievable flyer. I thought I was going to be talking to myself pretty much the whole time. But listen, I'll see everyone at 1 o'clock. Have a bloody great day, everyone. And I honestly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all very much for turning up. Take care and have a wonderful morning.